Whoa, shalom, brothers and sisters. So we're here again in another installment of Why Learn Amharic, and here again looking at the Lion of Judah Society printing of dictionary of ancient and beautiful biblical names in the Royal Amharic or the Shoan Amarenya with the English translations, and again give thanks to our sister, our great, help me to our great brethren, the Rebbe Ras Tafari, Tehitana Girma Asfal for this compilation. Again, I have to big the sister up for many of the works that she's helped to compile within the Lion of Judah Society for the continued learning space of many of the students like I myself. So getting into this study again, brothers and sisters, as many ones and ones are really making a push and really walking out their faith by their feet, and making a lot of the name change and name corrections, dropping away the old Babylonian ways and many of these badges of slavery, whether it be historical or even mental. The brothers and sisters are really graduating and elevating themselves in that walk, and that's definitely to be recognized and acknowledged, especially here by the brothers and sisters within respective Ras Tafari community. So we definitely seek to continue learning in our Amharic studies, our Hebrew studies, and solidifying our Ethiopian Hebrew heritage. And this is just another compilation of some studies that I is putting together to help ones and ones grow in that work. So I want to preface this one, with some literary work from Wolf Laszlo again, in the scholarly work he put together for Falasha Anthology, which was really good and one that should be, acknowledged here. Brothers and sisters, in the structuring of the nomenclatures for many of the Ethiopian Hebrews or the Ethiopian Jews, which you would know them as today, the Beta Israel, there's definitely a structure to how the names are presented and brought about. So when ones would name their children, it would consist of not only Hebrew names but Ethiopian names as well, Ethiopic names, because of not only the geographical location and the traditions that were held up in Ethiopia, especially pertaining to the Kibber Negest or the Glory of Kings, but it also contained the covenant between God and his people and those who continue to uphold that tradition for eons, and those few thousand years, especially from the track from Israel to Ethiopia and other parts of Africa as well. So with that said, just going to read a snippet here from Wolf Laszlo's Falasha Anthology, and it reads here: the Falasha customs are very often only local variations of general Ethiopian customs, but there are a few which are characteristically Falasha. So prefacing that really showing that they are Hebraic in nature. They're specific to the Falasha, the Beta Israel. The name given a Falasha child may be either Ethiopic or a Hebrew name from the Bible. In Ethiopic usage, one finds a combination of two names frequent: The first is the child's own name, and the second that of his father or mother, for that instance, especially for a daughter. Thus, for example, Bayu Adga would mean Bayu, the son of Adga. A man may be addressed either by his own or by the combined name. If a Falasha who has a Hebrew name gives his child a Hebrew name, then the word Bain, which is the meaning for son in the Hebrew, is used. For example, Yitzhak Bain Abraham, which in the same as the before mentioned name, Abayu Agda, this name would mean Yitzhak or Isaac, the son of Abraham. In the familiar Jewish tradition, so even the European Jews definitely keep to this type of structure in naming their children and keeping to their Ethiopian Hebraic, not Ethiopian Hebraic, but they're more so Jewish names. They actually held on to those structures of naming their children. So surnames and family names didn't actually come down until we get to languages like the Latin, the English, so on and so forth, as the names or the languages move more to the west. But finishing up here, but if a Falasha having an Ethiopian name gives his child a Hebrew name, the Ethiopian custom is followed, as in Abraham Agda. So just prefacing that again, the child's name would be Abraham and give it as a given name, and Adga as his father's name. So still meaning the same thing, but his surname is not a name, something like Jones or Smith. His last name would be his father's name, and the same and vice versa form for a daughter, even though sometimes daughters may carry the father's name as well. And even so, in some cases, the son may carry the mother's name. So it's, no separation so much between the sexes, as so to speak. With that, but that's from Falasha Anthology of Wolf Laszlo. And we'll add a little more depth to that study, more so with this right here. This is a really good one that I picked up on some years ago. And this is Name and Titles Among the Moors. Now, some might not know that many Moors are also Hebrews as well, and even many of them studied and were, great Islamic scholars. And that's a historical jewel and gem that many ones and ones don't really know about. But hopefully here we'll be able to bring that out more in due time, Jah willing. And this one here, I really wanted to go to a certain section in this work here, so ones and ones can really get where I'm coming from, especially with the names, so that way we can really get into a more structured state of studying what we have in front of here, especially with these names, because having a good name is really important, and it really gives a child good standing in them, not having to search out so much, and more so just coming to their own. But here we are again with the Amharic biblical names by our sister Tehitana Girma. And again, we preface this with the scriptural reference here, coming from the book of Proverbs, chapter 22, verse 1, as it says here. A good name is rather to be chosen than great riches, and loving favor rather than silver and gold. So take that in, my brothers and sisters. And there you see it here in the Amharic, Metzaf Misale, Haya Hulet. And it reads Melkam Sim, Kebzu, Balet Egnet, Yeshalal, Melkamin,